Welcome back. Award-winning singer-songwriter Chris Call highlights Florida history through his original music. He brings his Florida songs and stories to students and audiences statewide and looks forward to carrying on the Florida troubadour tradition for years to come.
The sun shines forever as far as my eyes can see. The birds touch the sky as they spread their great wings. The beauty of this land, it unfolds before me, puts a smile on my face and makes me wanna sing. Florida, you'll always be my home, forever in my heart, no matter where I go, from the deep blue Atlantic to the Gulf of Mexico. Florida, you'll always be my home. I can feel the strong roots of the great live oak tree. The pines, they grow high, and the palms sway in the breeze. The rivers run wild with the gentle manatee. The blossoms fill the air with perfume so sweet. Florida, you'll always be my home, forever in my heart, no matter where I go, from the deep blue Atlantic to the Gulf of Mexico. Florida, you'll always be my home. Well, I feel so proud to have walked this great land, made generations to come rest their feet in the sand. Treat it like a brother, be kind to your own, and never forget that Florida's your home. Florida, you'll always be my home, forever in my heart, no matter where I go, from the deep blue Atlantic to the Gulf of Mexico. Florida, you'll always be my home. Oh, Florida, you'll always be my home.
I'd like to share with you an afternoon with Eve. A few years back, we were leaving story camp at Lake Yale. Eve was with us, and we decided to detour south a bit to see Drew's grandmother's homestead. So pretty soon we were headed down a road that had a canopy of trees over it, moss hanging everywhere. And when we came out of this canopy, we saw a sign and it said, "Local honey for sale." So we followed the arrow to a little stand. Not a soul in sight. But there were little jars of honey, and then a large jar behind it with this cut in the lid, and it said, "Put your money here." So we did. We got back in the car with our honey and headed down to a large curve in the road. And as we came around this curve, I looked up, 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 and there was a giraffe. A giraffe. Nobody said a word. We just kept going. In a minute, so he said, "Did you see what I saw?" Then we were on the road to the homestead. The roads got smaller and narrower until it was a tiny dirt road leading to a little white house with a tin roof and a little porch that went kind of around the corner, and you could still see where the old fruit trees were and the pecan trees, and Eve just loved it. Then we decided to visit the church that his grandmother had kept alive all those years when only 4 or 5 people came every Sunday. So we drove up to this little church with a tiny white steeple, and we peeked in the window. And there were banners, 2 banners, and it listed all of the young men from that community that did not return from World War I and World War II. And further in the middle of this tiny church was a large cast iron pot-belly stove decorated with garlands. We walked around the yard for a while. Then we got back in the car, and we headed towards this field where we saw Sandhill Crane and Mrs. Crane and baby cranes running around. We got out and took pictures and watched for the longest time. It was wonderful. And then we got back in the car and headed towards St. Augustine. We began to discuss the afternoon. We talked about the honesty jar, the cracker house, the potbelly stove, the Crane family. And then we grinned and we talked about the giraffe.
Bipedalism is a hit. Wouldn't want to crawl around without it. I'm running. I got miles and miles to roam. I got a mind to train some horses. Got meals of 14 courses. I got the ears to hear the long direction home. You go right when you hit the hard road. You make a left, right, left again. Goodfield Village to the interstate. The river of mice and men, mice and men. With help I also fly. I got highways way up in the sky. I got the urge to burn the candle in both hands. In truth it has got 6 or 7 billion thirsty wicks. My enemies are dancing with my friends. You go right when you hit the hard road. You make a left, right, left again. Goodfield Village to the interstate. The river of mice and men, mice and men. I was an orchard man for years, until the honeybees just disappeared. My pollen has fallen far and wide. I guess I'll subdivide, 'cause the farmer's fate is a bitter bride. A good field sprouting houses just makes me cry. You go right when you hit the hard road. You make a left, right, left again. Goodfield Village to the interstate. The river of mice and men, mice and men. You go right when you hit the hard road. You make a left, right, left again. Goodfield Village to the interstate. The river of mice and men, mice and men.
Here's a short banjo video with Mary Z. Cox on St. George Island, Memorial Day weekend 2020.
Hi, welcome to St. George Island, and this is on the beautiful Gulf of Mexico. We thought you might enjoy something outdoors since we've all been in stay-at-home for 3 months now. Okay, here we go, and here's a little Western North Carolina dance tune.
and his name was Billy Jack. With a long black tail and a long black mane, with spots upon his back. Now every morning I'd jump out of bed and run down to the barn. Well, Billy Jack and I would spend our day just riding around that farm. Oh, Billy Jack. Billy Jack. That spotted pony was my best friend, my best pal in the world. He was always ready to romp or I'd give anything in the world. We'd play cowboys and rodeo, chase dance cows around the farm. But every night we'd sit together talking in the barn. Oh, Billy Jack. Billy Jack. We could talk about most everything and anything in my world. My day at school, my wildest dreams, how I felt about that girl. He never said a word, but I'm sure he heard, and I think he understood. But every night when I went to bed, I didn't care that felt good. Oh, Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Now it's been many years since Billy Jack died. Oh, Lordy, how I cried. But it really doesn't matter how long it's been. I can't forget him if I try. Now I have my own son. His name is Ben. And he looks a lot like me. And I told him all about Billy Jack and what he meant to me. Oh, Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Now the other day Ben said to me, Daddy, I think it's time. I want a pony like Billy Jack, a friend I can call mine. So he went out. So he bought a pony that was solid black with the white spots on his back. I swear by golly, it looks a lot like my old pal Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Billy Jack. As I watch my son and that pony run, it really takes me back. Those joyful days on the daddy's farm to ride with Billy Jack. And late at night when we sit and talk, I see my old pal looking back. And I know that deep in that pony's soul is my old friend Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Hey, one more time. Billy Jack. Oh, Billy Jack. It's so good to have you back.
Deborah Thompson regales listeners with stories of her life's adventures, the glad, the bad, and the amazing exploits that her inquisitive nature has provided. Her kindness and warmth make a strong connection with every audience.
Hello. I got a request for an alligator story, so I thought I'd tell you one of my favorites. I have a whole bunch of them. This is one of my absolute favorites. I was down south in Miami visiting my cousins, and when I go down there, I have to break away. There's a national park in Florida, the Everglades, the Florida Everglades. And the Everglades means the sea of grass. And they have fantastic trails. They're like a boardwalk, and you walk on the wood, and you can, on these boardwalks, and they have railings, and you can look out, and you can see all kinds of Florida wildlife. So I was walking one day. I went to the Anhinga Trail. It's right near the entrance of the Everglades, just south of Miami, not too far. And all of a sudden I was in the wild country on the Anhinga Trail. And I knew, because every time I go there, I see lots of alligators. But I know this one section of the trail that usually I see some babies. And sometimes they're this big and they're all huddled together. And somewhere right there is Mama. I don't usually see her, but I can see the little baby and some eggshells that have hatched around. And anyway, so I went there this time, and it was Florida, the season at that time, it was droughted. The water, I had never seen it that low. The water was so dry, I couldn't believe it. Because normally I'm walking on the boardwalk and there's water all over and beautiful flowers that grow in the Everglades. This time it was crispy dry. So I'm walking along, and there would be a pool, a small pool where normally it's a huge lake full of water, and you'll see an alligator eyeballs over there and over there. But this time the water was it was a small pool, but kind of big pool, and there were tons of alligators. I've never seen so many alligators at one time. And there were some right down there, right on the bottom of the catwalk, and there was another one right over there and over there and over there and there and there, and they were eyeballs swimming along in the water. Well, so sure enough, I came to the area where I just knew I would see some babies. And it was precious. And there was a little mob of people, 3 or 4 people standing there looking at them, and that's how I found them so easily. They were about this long, about as long as this flute, and maybe a little bit fatter, but not much fatter than this flute. They were long, skinny little things with these cute little heads that stuck out, and there were about 6 or 7 of them. Well, one of those 6 or 7, and I called him the little boy, and maybe his name was Tommy or something like that. In the middle of his shut mouth, he had a fish. Now the fish was a little bit bigger than this, but I just thought it was kind of fun. It made a noise, but it was a flat fish. So here's this alligator, a baby alligator with this fish in his mouth, and he was just sitting there holding his fish. He already learned how to fish at such a young age, and he was standing there holding it, and then all of a sudden brothers and sisters thought they were going to steal his fish, so they pounced on him, and he went underwater, and there were 6 or 7 alligators, and the water was going wild, bubbling and thrashing, and every once in a while you'd see a tail or a nose stick up out of the water, but there was thrashing going on, and his brothers and sisters were trying to steal his fish. Well, you know what mamas are good for. Mamas protect their young. So I'd never seen this before. Out of the tall bush behind the little babies there, all of a sudden out came Mama, out of the reeds, out of the tall grasses of the Everglades. Here comes Mama, and all she did was, her tail was still back there in the weeds, in the grass, but she's out like that. And as soon as Mama came out, all those other little 6 or 7 alligators, they all let go of the little Tommy alligator. And there he was, floating on the ground, sitting there with his head up, proud as could be, holding his fish in his mouth, and nobody moved. They just sat there. I don't know how long they sat there, because I had to scurry on myself, but there he just sat there as proud as he could with his alligator in with his fish in his mouth. And Mama had told the other brothers and sisters, don't you bother him with his fish. If you want to fish, you have to go catch your own fish. Well, that's my little alligator story.
Michael Uzina has crafted quality fishing nets for over 60 years. He has shared his knowledge of net making through apprenticeships, a film, and through public demonstrations. Mr. Uzina uses the same techniques as his Minorcan ancestors who settled North Florida over 2 centuries ago.
That's a knitting needle, a gauge, a mesh board, and twine. That's how you make a net. Everything I make myself.
As a boy, he spent much of his time fishing for mullet and learning to knit cast nets from his father.
Somewhere 8 or 9 years old was when I started making a net, and then I just progressed from there.
When he got a job at the Fairchild Corporation, he would knit during his lunch breaks. Over time, he learned the long history and evolution of the net making industry. Now retired, Uzina shares net making history and traditions.
Webbing actually goes back some 20,000 years, and actually it was the women who started weaving the nets.
In addition to producing a video on net making, he is active in the Minorcan Cultural Society and regularly demonstrates at local schools and festivals.
Once I got involved with the folk life program, I really found out how important that it really is. I work in the summer at the lighthouse with summer camps over there. The little kids 6 to 9 years old, and some of them are interested, believe it or not.
In 2015, Uzina participated as a master artist in the Folk Life Apprenticeship Program. He's a regular demonstrator at the annual Minorcan Heritage Celebration in St. Augustine, as well as at the Florida Folk Festival.
All right, I learned watching my father. I don't recall him ever sitting down and showing me this is how you do it. I watched him.
His efforts generated growing interest in folk arts in St. Augustine, garnering attention from the Community Foundation of Northeast Florida. In partnership with the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum, he secured enough funding to host a folk arts workshop series that included net making, as well as other Northeast Florida folk traditions.
I hope you've enjoyed my little presentation, and you can find us at menorcanmagic.com. We have a website. That's menorcanmagic.com.
This story is called Why We Have Gophers, and it was collected by Zora Neale Hurston and published in her book, Mules and Men. Now, when I say gophers, don't think about those little rodents called gophers. I want you to think about Florida's native land turtles or tortoises that are called gophers. They're a keystone species. They dig these burrows in the sand that can sometimes extend as far as 25 feet, and there are lots of other animals and insects that live in and around the burrow, almost creating an ecosystem unto itself. But how did we get those unusual gopher animals? Well, it goes back to creation. God was down on the shores of Charlotte Harbor, and he was down in the muckety muck. Now, y'all know what muckety muck is. It's a little bit of sand and a little bit of mud, kind of the two mixed together. It's down where the mangroves grow, and he was scooping up that stuff and making beautiful sea creatures. First, he made a silver king tarpon, and he blew the breath of life into it, threw it out into Charlotte Harbor, and it swam away. Then he made a porpoise. Ah, what a lovely creature. And he blew the breath of life into it, and he threw it into Charlotte Harbor, and it swam away. What he didn't realize was while he was so busy working, the devil had come up behind him and was watching each and every creature that he made. So that when God scooped down into the muckety muck and made a beautiful Ridley sea turtle, blew the breath of life into it, threw it out into Charlotte Harbor, and it swam away, the devil said, "Oh God, I can do that." And God said, "Well, you can't." And the devil says, "Oh, yes, I can, God. I can make a turtle. It's a really easy animal to make. It just has that big humpy shell. I can make a turtle." And God says, "You can't." And the devil says, "Why, sure I can, God. It's just got that big shell and those little head and 4 legs and a little tail sticking out. I can make a turtle. And God says, you can't. And they argued back and forth a full 5 minutes. And finally God said, enough. He was tired of arguing. And so the devil said, well, God, I'm going to try to make me a turtle. And if I can make something that looks like a turtle, will you blow the breath of life into it? Because everybody knows only God can blow the breath of life into creatures. And God agreed. But he was shaking his head and saying, you can't make a turtle. Well, after arguing with God for that long, that devil was a little embarrassed. So he didn't stay down in the muckety muck because he didn't want God to see what he was doing. So he climbed himself up onto the shores of Charlotte Harbor into that pine and palmetto area where the sand is dry. And he worked up there to fashion himself a turtle. In the meantime, God's got a lot of creating to do. So he reaches down and he makes a beautiful black mullet. He blows the breath of life into it, throws it into Charlotte Harbor, and it swims away. And he goes on and on and on. And later, the devil finally comes down out of the pine and palmettos to the shores of Charlotte Harbor, and he's got something in his hands. He is so proud of it. He said, look, God, look what I made. I made a turtle. And God stops his creation, and he looks over at what the devil has, and he says, it ain't no turtle. And the devil says, why, sure it is, God. Look, I got that big old shell just perfect. And God says, it ain't a turtle. And the devil says, oh, yes, it is. Just look, it's got that little head and it was 4 feet and a little tail. It's a turtle, God. And God says, it ain't. And the devil says, but you promised if I made something that looked like a turtle, you would blow the breath of life into it. And God took the creature from the devil and he said, I did promise and I always keep my promises. So he blew the breath of life into it, and he threw it out into Charlotte Harbor, and that creature came right back swimming up to the shore like it didn't like the water. And God looks at the devil and he says, it ain't a turtle. Turtles like water. And he picks it up and he throws it back into Charlotte Harbor, and it comes right back to the shore. God looks at the devil and he goes, it's not a turtle. Turtles actually like swimming out there in the water. And so he picks it up one more time and he throws it out. Y'all know what happened, right? It came right back to the shore. And so the devil picks it up and he says to God, well, I guess it's not really a turtle, but maybe it can go for it. And that's why to this day we have gopher tortoises.
wake up at night when the air is cool and still. Forget that you're all alone, call out his name, and the only reply you can get is a lone whippoorwill. And you know he's not around anymore, wake you up from another bad dream. You curse the heavens and beat your poor head on the wall, and drink till the liquor's all gone and you run out of tears. And you ask a question out loud to any God that might care. Why can't we live forever? And these are the words that you hear. Forever is a journey of no return. Forever lasts but a moment, then it's gone. Forever means that nothing remains the same. Forever is the road we travel on. They say it'll be alright, time heals every wound. But all the well-meaning lies in the world can't change a thing. 'Cause you can't stop loving someone just 'cause he's gone. But sometimes you need him so bad that love ain't nothing but pain. He didn't leave much behind but some ashes and an old guitar, and the words to a song he was writing up till the end. And you're about to give in to grief when you hear an old tune, and before you know it you're singing along with his voice in the wind. Forever is a journey of no return. Forever is but a moment, then it's gone. And forever means that nothing remains the same. Forever is the road we travel on. The woman I never stopped missing didn't stay very long. And it's taken me most of my life just to understand why. Oh, I know how easy it was for him to love you, my dear, and how hard that it must have been for him to tell you goodbye. And happy ever after is a tale for children and fools. But once upon a time, my dearest wish really came true. And when the vessel that I once shared starts going dry, forgive me for saying my cup runs over every time I think about you. Forever is a journey of no return. Forever is then it's gone. And forever means that nothing remains the same. Forever is the road we travel on.
Lloyd Baldwin has been performing at the Florida Folk Festival for decades with an assortment of friends and fellow old-time musicians from Florida and other parts of the Deep South. Get ready to tap your toes to rollicking fiddle tunes and enjoy topical songs from the old-time country string band tradition.
I'm all torn down here.
Mimi and the Hern Dogs is a six-piece group that delivers a gumbo of soulful vocals spiced with blues harmonica, percussion, and guitars, held together by a tasty upright bass.
So please don't you mention never carry out a single thing that I planned. 'Cause in my imagination I'm a daughter of creation. I haven't done it yet, but I can. But right now I'm killing time. Killing time isn't murder, it's suicide. Killing time. Procrastination, the best of all creation of excuses for the living. Plena from Puerto Rico. This is actually used to be called the newspaper of Puerto Rico. This is the way we used to communicate to all the Puerto Ricans. In that time, the governor was American in Puerto Rico, and the news, the gossip, religion, anything, had to go through the government to be accepted, to be out and told to the public. So we came out with these hand drums to be able to speak about what we wanted to do. Woo! So we continue with this, and we give you more plena.
Clap your hands, let's go.
Yo tengo tres hijas, Carmen, Concha y Margarita. La cosa más linda, pues de la tema bonita. Carmen es maestra, mucha estudió y agilita. Margarita estudia, pues eres la más chiquita. Temprano salen a misa y a las me las acompaño porque no quiero estar sola. La casa, cuando termina la misa, el que quiere hablar con ella tiene primero que sacar cita. Qué pena me dio hoy temprano en la mañana cuando vi a Carmen y a Moncha llorando sobre la cama. Le pregunté, hija mía, ¿qué sucede? Y Carmen entre sollozo me dijo en palabras principales. Se llevaron la nena, Margarita se fue con el novio, qué dolor y qué pena. Qué dolor, qué pena, papi, qué dolor y tristeza. Se han llevado la niña, mis ojos, se han llevado mi nena. Se llevaron la nena, papá, se llevaron la nena. Margarita se fue con el novio, qué dolor y qué pena. Margarita se fue con el novio, qué triste la condena. Que yo me hago ahora, oye, sin mi nena. Se llevaron la nena, papá, se llevaron la nena. Margarita se fue con el novio, qué dolor y qué pena. Tan bonita que estaba la niña, tan pura y tan serena. Tan sabroso que ya se meneaba cuando bailaba plena nube. Se llevaron la nena, papá, se llevaron la nena. Margarita se fue con el novio, qué dolor y qué pena. La nena, papá, se llevaron la nena. Margarita se fue con el novio, qué dolor y qué pena. Ay, qué tristeza y qué dolor. Si es que mi niña se llega y que no ha llegado. Se llevaron la nena, papá, se llevaron la nena. Margarita se fue con el novio, qué dolor y qué pena. Si tú la ves, ay, que dime dónde está. Anda contigo, Calderón, bailando reggae. Se llevaron la nena, papá, se llevaron la nena. Margarita se fue con el novio, qué dolor y qué pena. There you go.
Come in close and listen, listen hard and still, and sorrow with the kindred of those 9 who were killed. Oh, raise a tear-streaked face and wonder why this suffering, why they die like traitors down at Charleston. The evening sun was low, but air was hot as day, as 13 men and women climbed those steps to pray. The church's doors were closing, but a visitor walked in. He held a secret, his mind was plotting sin. But did you see St. Peter, or did you see St. Paul? You stained black soldiers looking down from blood-stained walls. Could you forgive him for this dreadful sin? Just like those churchmen did down at Charleston. Showed him to a seat. They opened up their Bibles and got down on their knees. But Dylan wrote the visitors stood up as they bent down and drew a gun before the group could make a sound. I have to do it, said the gunman without shame. I'll give you something real to pray about, he raved. He looked around the frozen room, his cold face worked with hate, and let the devil do his will as he took aim. What did you see, St. Peter? What did you see, St. Paul? You stained black soldiers looking down from blood-stained walls. Could you forgive him for this dreadful sin? Just like those churchmen did out at Charleston. Grandma Susie Jackson, wrinkled fingers knit in prayer. You cry to heaven as a bullet split the air. The young Tawanza Sanders steps between her and the gun, and bravely gave his life down at Charleston. Dylan Brooke was captured and went before the court. Broken families gathered round with broken hearts. Their eyes met his, and instead of hate, they showed him mercy as they one by one forgave. What did you see, St. Peter? Did you see St. Paul? You stained glass soldiers looking down from blood-stained walls. Could you forgive him for this dreadful sin? Just like those churchmen did down at Charleston. What did you see, King Jesus, who wore the traitor's crown? As Roman soldiers looked up from blood-stained ground, how could you forgive them for this dreadful sin? As you hung there dying to take us sinners in. Come in close and listen hard and still, and sorrow with the kindred of the guiltless who were killed. Oh, raise a tear myself so much down at Charleston.
The virtual 68th Annual Florida Folk Festival is brought to you by the Florida Park Service, Stephen Foster Folk Culture Center State Park, and the Stephen Foster Citizens Support Organization. Take a short